Hey guys, welcome back to Cryo. This is part four of my four-part series where we will be building the nuke. So as I just said, this episode's about building the nuke. Um, so so where did we leave off last episode? That seems like a good start. So let's go ahead and fire. As you see, we get a nice stack. 120 sand, which is perfect. Now, I didn't go over what the red sand or the one-shot sand does last video, so I will attempt to go over it this video. I'll also, yeah, sorry. So I'll attempt to go over it this video, and I'll be able to show you the application of this one-shot sand. So I think what we first need to do is remove this bedrock and actually replace it with some kind of wall. So let's just make a few walls. Um, yeah, so what this one-shot sand does is it's rendering after the sand in my sand compression, obviously, because it's pushing out right as the cannon fires off. So this means that I can actually control where my TNT is going. So I'm about to finish this and I can show you. So I can actually control where I want my TNT to sit. So, for instance, if I ticked my TNT off after the one-shot sand, then it's actually going to render above it because of the order of entities. So whatever renders first, that will fall first. However, if I render my TNT um, above, if I render my TNT slightly before my one-shot sand, then it's rendering underneath it, so it's going to be inside when it blows up. And so that's our goal here. So with our nuke, what our goal to do is a goal that we're trying to achieve is we want our nuke sitting here inside a sand, and then above it, uh, with our red sand, we want our nuke hammer to go. And so there's a particular game mechanic I briefly touched on where um, TNT gets pre-rendered. The explosion renders before the TNT even gets there. So the game just calculates where the TNT is going to explode, and that's where it's gonna end up. So let's say, for instance, I have my nuke hammer on a repeater tick. If I have my comparator on the same timing with if I have my nuke on the same timing with a comparator, it's actually rendering slightly after my repeater. So if you can think about it like this is going to blow up, and this nuke is going to get shot down maybe to like here. And then if I have multiple ticks of the nuke, um, you can kind of think of it like each nuke is responsible for blowing up one piece of the way down. So if I don't really want to get too complicated, um, but it's kind of like sand stacking, where each sand is responsible for stacking at a certain point in the wall, and it's the same with nuke, it's responsible for breaking at a certain point in the wall. That's the easiest way I can explain it. So that's our goal. So to do this, we want to build our nuke first of all. Let's go ahead and set this up. Um, I believe this is my preferred method with the nuke booster, just because it kind of lines itself up nicely. You'll see shortly. I go six long, and then six up like this. Let's replace that. Stack that 110, and let's stack that 110. Once again, nothing new about this booster setup, except it's a little bit longer, which there's a good reason for it. Okay, so how are we going to set up our nuke? Well, you can think of it like this. The more, the less ticks of nuke we have. So let's say, for instance, my nuke is ticking, all of my nuke is ticking in one tick. The more nuke hammer we're going to need, because um, if it's all going in one tick, then we need more nuke hammer to shoot it down further, like logically. So the more ticks of nuke we have, so let's say we had 6 ticks of nuke, or 6 game ticks of nuke, the further we can go with the smaller amount of TNT. So it's about finding the balance. I do prefer the triple setup. I know some people do like the double setup with 4, and honestly, that's probably more efficient for a smaller cannon. But I just like this because it's easier to find a good nuke hammer ratio. Anyways, let's go ahead and stack this one up. Typically, I like to go 6 up with these, so that means it's 7 high, so 21 per tick, or game tick. Game tick is like half a tick, so don't stress yourselves out over it. We'll cover it in more detail later. And for a similar reason as before, we are using the comparator. I kind of explained it because it renders slightly after a repeater, which you can understand. You see it used in the slab bust, which we'll add on as well. Oh, my bad. You see it used in the slab bust, which we'll add on as well at the end, and a few other components, just like so. Let's go ahead and stack this one up. 2. Copy, flip, paste. That's our nuke, or is completely getting powered. Now we just need to work out the timings. There's our booster sorted. Let's bring in a redstone signal from here. And I'm actually liking the look of this quite a lot. Something like this we can have a little bit more delay on. What else can we do here? Well, we can power this redstone up. Like so. You may be questioning what I'm about to do. You would have seen it before in a few cannons. I'll explain it in just a second. Okay, so this is the basic layout of the nuke. So yeah, let me run it through with you guys. Okay, so well, first off, what's this double piston thing here? Well, I've run a few tests and I've tried to calculate it exactly, but honestly, I'm not 100% sure how this works. But you can think of it like 2.5 ticks. So if you look on the right, you'll see 19.92 or 20 ticks per second. And so that's not actually real ticks. So a repeater is what we call a real tick. That's not actually representative of real ticks. It's actually half of a real tick or one game tick. So if I have 2 ticks going into a redstone lamp opposed to a sticky piston, what do I have water? I have no idea. You can kind of see this one goes off slightly after, but very minutely. In fact, it's so small that if I didn't have a shit computer, you wouldn't actually be able to tell the difference. But yeah, so this is actually 2.5 ticks if we look at a repeater. So think about it like this. These dispensers are going off at 4 ticks, and these ones are going off at 1, 2, um, plus another 0.5, so 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. So this is going off at 4, and this is going off at 4.5. And then if we keep adding repeaters onto this, this will be going off at 5, this will be going off at 6, this will be going off at 5.5, and this will be going off at 6.5. So it's kind of like this one ticks off, these dispensers, then these dispensers, then these, that, so on, so forth. So that's how we can get quite an efficient nuke on our wall. Okay, well that's as best as I can explain it. It's kind of a tricky concept when you first get it. Just know that when you're designing your nuke, you need a game tick separation between them. Okay, well now it's on to the timings. So let's come back up here to our sand stack. Before we touched on order of entities and how if I have a piece of TNT ticking off after my sand, it's going to render at the top of the stack. So let's take the red sand out of the equation. Let's say I disable the red sand and I'm just stacking a sand. I'm just getting a sand stack. How can I render TNT up the top of this sand stack? Well, the answer is quite simple, really. It's you tick off the TNT after your sand starts falling. So, um, so that means that the sand will be rendered under your TNT when your hammer blows up. So your TNT will be right at the top, which is what we want. So yeah, so let's try and get this situation now. So let's count the ticks on our sand falling. And this is actually going to be quite tricky with our sand compression. In fact, I don't even know if it'll work because of this reusable cobweb. Huh, very interesting. It might not even work. Oh, we'll see. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13, 14, 18, which means let's add 4 ticks onto that because we've got a few sand falling. So 18, let's make this 20, then you're going off at 20. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That's fine. Oh, that might be a pain to water, but that's fine. Okay. So let's see if we can get our TNT rendering at the top of the stack. So I'm going to go ahead and fire right now. did not work at all, really, did it? What happened there? Oh, I know why. I forgot the booster timing. 1, 2, 3. And then we've got 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's on 3. So I'm going to need to add a few more ticks to this. Make it 7, and let's remove 4 from here. Let's go ahead and fire. Not what we want again. We're probably at the trickiest stage of the build. As soon as we get this firing out, we'll be all sweets. Okay, let's try removing some. Did that go? I think it did. Hang on, let me see again. Interesting. So it's not quite firing out just yet. Why might that happen? Okay, let's count 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's on 7. That should be fine. 9. Oh, I know my mistake. I went to that booster, not this booster. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 7, which means it's gonna have to be slightly earlier. Alrighty. Now, for some unknown reason, this is not firing out. How odd. Let me just test a few things. I think it's because it's on a different alignment. Something's going on there. Also, for some reason, this is getting powered really early. Oh, there we go. That's fixed. So that's going to power that as well. Huh. It's kind of annoying. There we go. So we've just been trolled. Okay. Let's take a look at this now. Now that we know it's actually shooting out. Okay, so it is hybriding, but as you can see, it's not doing too much. So if I shoot again, it's rendering quite low down the stack. Well, we know what that means. That means that we need more delay on this. Why do we need more delay? Well, we need this rendering after it, so it renders on the top. So let's start by adding one tick. Actually, two ticks. Two ticks. And let's have a look at this. Okay, I'll fire again. Still a little bit too low there. Another two ticks. And this is a lot of just guess and check. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Let's get a fresh wall up. And it just takes time. Even for me, I've been doing this for about a year now, and yeah, okay. So, yeah, a couple of issues. Because of our type of sand comp, this sand is actually pushing out really, really late. So that means that this TNT, no matter how late I tick it, will never render after this sand because that's actually getting pushed out. Um, don't worry though, we can still work with this. It just means we'll have to make a few adjustments. Okay, let's get rid of this shit here because that is absolutely foul. Um, we can still work with this. Okay, so we need a hybrid up the top. That's priority. Um, and the reason we need a hybrid up the top is so that we don't clip. Because what's the point of cannoning someone if you're just going to be breaking lower down the stack? Okay, so let's go like this. Just like so. Now let's come out, wire this one up. Forgive me if this one's a little bit longer than it should be. I'm hoping it's not too long, but judging by how this is going, we will see. Anyways, part of the learning process. Okay, so we want this ticking off around the same time as our nuke, so we can actually put this back on 2 ticks just to save time. So that's 18, 19, 20, 1, 22, 23, 24. Okay, this is at 6 to 24 is 18. 18 is another, that's 12. Need another 6. So 1, 2. Okay, this should work now. So I'll explain to you what's going on in just a second. If, uh, you know, it's gonna work. What's going on? It's working. Okay, maybe it has something to do with either that or our sand comp's completely clogged. Nope, it's fine. Okay, it must have something to do with this. Nope. Jesus. Alrighty. Oh, Somehow that's getting powered. Oh, wow. Hang on. What is going on? Okay, now let's try. And one more time. This just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it? Why is this getting powered? It's getting buttered. Surely not. Just get rid of that. Okay, so there we go. So you saw, um, what I've done here is I've got this TNT, or which would have been the NUKE hammer, is now just acting as a hybrid TNT. So this is rendering right at the top of the stack. Why is that? Well, because it's shooting out with the one-shot sand um, and the hammer. So if it's shooting out with the hammer and the one-shot sand, it's not actually stacking with the other sand and nuke. So it's actually kind of sitting inside that red sand that we saw at the top of the stack. And so that's kind of the setup we're looking for, except it would be a lot better if she could nuke with this sand comp. Unfortunately, she can't, so that's okay. Can't do anything there. So yeah, we're just gonna have to make a few modifications to this. I'll show you how to do this. I'll show you how to do that if you ever run into this issue when you're making your own cannons, which you probably will, because it's probably very common. Okay, so let's fire another shot, see what this does. Didn't do too much. Hmm, how odd. Okay, so it's made a hole down here, and the reason is because this sand that we talked about before is getting pushed off after the other sand. You know what we could try and do? I've just had an idea. Let's try and extend let's try and extend this pulse and get some more sand flying down. And what's that gonna do? Well, we could actually see it rendering at the top of the stack. Please, please, please. Be generous. Oh, oh yes. Oh, hang on, there was a pre-stack. Hang on. Don't speak too soon. Let's try again. Oh, that's a lot better. A lot better. So we just need... No, that won't work. Actually, will it? Hang on. Will that work? Let's see. Try again. Oh, we go. Turns out we can nuke after all, we just need to drop more sand. So we had a perfect 120 coming out including this side sand here. But if we don't include this and we just drop 120 from the middle ones, then that's just going to stack first and these side ones are going to break. So it is wasting sand, but I guess we can nuke now, so there is absolutely no problem with that. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 28, 16, 24. Okay, well, these are at the same time. Um, one more thing. I've kind of discussed how the nuke works, but you want your nuke hammer on the exact same timing as your first game tick of nuke, except that in the nuke you've got comparators instead of repeaters. You can nuke with repeaters, but it's easier with comparators. So yeah, so let's have a look at this. Hopefully it works. It should. And look at that. A perfect nuke. Am I a genius or am I a genius? No, I'm kidding. It took me a while to figure that out. Okay, let's fire again. Okay, well, I think that... Actually, you know what? No, we're not done yet. One thing you will encounter is slabs. It's really easy to get past that. To break slabs, you want your slab bus to be on the same timing as your hammer, just with the comparator once again. So it's the same mechanic. You have a comparator slightly rendering the TNT after the hammer. So if it's rendering slightly after the hammer, then it's going to be shot down, which is what we want. So I can get this going straight away, he says, as he completely fails. And yeah, let's take a look at this. So beta comparator. Let's bring this redstone signal right up. So the hammer from memory was on 16, I believe. I can't exactly remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 to 16 is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Huh. This probably won't work. We're about to find out. So how slab bus works, I think I just explained it. I'm very forgetful, but it's rendering slightly after the hammer. It's gonna come down here and destroy this slab. So we can go ahead and fire the cannon now. I'm assuming that means it didn't work. Nope. Okay, so wrong timing. Let's count again. 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh wow, I'm way off. 14, 15, 16. Hey. There we go. So it's slab busted. I'll show you once more, just so you know for sure it didn't work. And this can probably slab bust like 10 slabs or something. You can test it. And it leaves a few stacks down the bottom for them to clean up at the end, I guess. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much the cannon done. Um, I really encourage you to make your own cannons. I think this four-part series should be enough to really get you on your way to becoming a pretty solid cannoner. In the future, I'm looking at doing a carpet compression 255, maybe even an anti-patch, depending on depending on if you guys want it. But this video is getting really long because I fucked up a little bit earlier. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I'll see you next time.